Call the meeting to order.
We're going to charge them more than residents.
Hey, Sam. Let's call the meeting to order. All right. We're going to start the meeting now. I think we're almost all here, except for one. Okay, does anybody want to make any comments on the minutes?
Make a motion.
Second? Any more? Oh, wait, you need?
Pass another one down. Two more. Three more. That's all I have.
All right, I'll hold off until everybody gets there.
Chair, we have
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. To the second, Sam?
I don't need to keep it.
All in favor?
That's good.
All opposed? All right, that's approved. What I would like to do with the committee's approval is move to items 6 and 7 to get those out of the way. I think they're fairly straightforward. And then Laura can go on with her life. Is that all right?
It's all right with me.
It's okay with me?
All right, Laura. Laura, you're in the chair first. We're gonna do Laura first. The item 6
Six
and
is from
7.
the county exec's office.
I'm sorry, okay.
Do you want to just do Laura's? That's fine.
No, I'm sorry. 6 and 7, we're trying to,
She's a lot prettier.
I'm sure you'd rather have Laura here. That's okay.
Oh, this tie's nice.
So the county executive's office was contacted by grassroots givers to donate a little library to the rail trail. There's already one out there from a different community group. It would be installed by our Public Works Department. It would be maintained by grassroots givers and stocked by them initially. We just view it as a good opportunity to add another amenity to the rail trail. Obviously, it'll be spaced pretty far away from the existing one. I don't know where the existing one is actually. I know this one's going to Slingerlands. So, any questions?
any questions?
I make a motion.
Second? All right, I'll make the motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Get passed.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was tough. All right, Laura, now you're on.
Well, the build-up. This is a request to apply for an annual grant from New York State Parks for a pass-through grant to maintain the state-funded snowmobile trails in the county. We find out how much the grant is for. Once all of the snowmobile permits have been applied for, the funding is based on that. Last year, we got a little over $12,000.
I make a motion.
Let me first ask, any questions? All right. Gil
I
makes
make
the
a motion.
Is there a second? Did I hear a second? Yes. All right, Travis, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All right. Now, some of these early ones, I think we're going to be tabling. The first resolution, number 180, public hearing on proposed local law, number J. Is this Sam, is this yours?
Yes, I'm going to table this. I'm in discussions with Global Partners over the painting schedule.
What law is this, Sam?
This is a law requiring petroleum storage tanks to be painted white. And
Someone blue.
skipping ahead, I'll be tabling the local law as well.
All right, number 3?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll note that right now, we're tabling 3. And now let's go to number 2, resolution number 284, public hearing on proposed local law number N, 2018. And we do have a letter designating Paul as another sponsor.
Yes.
So this is part of the new procedure that we've implemented, I guess, within the last month, where we can add sponsors. Because we've done that, this is an example where even though Todd's not here, Paul is as another sponsor, and so now we can address the issue and not delay it.
Bill, who's the letter from?
Todd. And we did have, these two gentlemen did look at it, Tim and Mr. Collins, and they seem to be okay with it, so I think we're kosher. I did want to try to get at least a quick read to see if that was the case, and it seems as though it is. So,
Brandon,
hopefully
did you
this-
look at it too?
What's that?
No problem? Good.
So, concerning the public hearing, resolution, does anybody have any comments or questions, or Paul, that you want to address?
Yeah, it's
Paul
a,
Bergdorf, not Miller, you said Miller.
Did I say Miller?
You did. I was looking for Paul Miller, I was confused. Okay.
Todd couldn't be here tonight, but he asked me to explain his legislation. It's really very simple. The charter actually calls for the Department of Economic Development to be an economic developer and a planner.
And an environmental monitor as well. Go ahead.
Okay, and there are very actually few job descriptions in the charter. Obviously, it says that the Commissioner of Health has got to be a licensed physician, et cetera. But there is some feeling that there has been, they have not been able to recruit a strong economic development person because of the responsibilities for a planner. I am told, I was not there, that the small little business group met with all the economic development people from the towns and the cities, and they were pretty much unanimous that you really didn't need anyone in the county position to be a planner, because really the planning all happens at the Bethlehem level or the City of Albany level or the town level. And and also ESDC is organized by county, so that there is a void right now in the economic development councils where Albany County, I am told, does not have a representative at the table for a number of their proceedings. So I know in my own experience in local government, it is always very difficult when you have the economic developer and the planner be the same person, because they make decisions which they then have a vested interest in making. The economic developer wants to do something and maybe not completely buy into the proper planning criteria, et cetera. So it's not a bad idea to have two separate functions. And I think what we'd like to do is to put this out for public hearing, get the public's opinion, bring the business community in, bring the economic developers from around the county in. I think, Tim, people have indicated that they're willing to come out and
Not sure the specifics, but yeah, this came out of a result of that task force meeting, yes.
in task force meeting with the economic developers. So we're asking that it go out for a public hearing.
Yeah, I'd just like to say for the record, I mean, based on our recent and our past experience with how we do appointments and how we do searches, I'd like to, know what the catchment effort was for outreach, what responses were given, and, also, I'd like to get in touch with some of the people who have past experience with the actual department to understand why knowledge of the planning function is not important, because one of the things we have to be concerned about is people who have the expertise to understand when somebody's trying to pull a fast one, either at a county level or even within their own department. And if you don't have the right kind of expertise, you get snowed. So, I mean, this is a longer discussion, but I want to go on record as saying that I think that the reason why this was put in the charter was because there might have been anticipation that people were going to try to minimize this as some kind of a patronage opportunity, as opposed to the regulatory function it needs to have. So just one man's opinion.
I'll only add, and I don't mean to cut off if anybody else wants to comment, this is just a public hearing that we're talking about right
Right,
now.
understood.
But I actually share a lot of Merton's concerns. I have to confess, full disclosure, I am a planner. I was trained in planning. I've done both economic development type work and planning work in my professional career. I think there are reasons why you should have those two things together. I know in Bethlehem, we have one individual doing both, and partly it's a fiscal reason. You know, it would be ideal to have two people, and they can you know, compete with their ideas and their suggestions, et cetera, et cetera. But in some communities, the fiscal constraints are such that you just have one. And I think we are operating under some fiscal constraints here in the county, and so I think it makes sense. I think that, you know, I don't want to stand in the way of the public hearing. I think we should always have a public hearing and get the feedback, but I do have some real concerns about what would happen if we took this step, and I do think that there are counter statements to pretty much everything you said, Paul, and we don't have to go into them all right now. But
That's the purpose of a public hearing.
right.
Bill,
Yeah.
is there a salary that goes with that?
There
What is- what is-
Wasn't it around 120,000, I think?
I
Was
think it
it?
was, when Matt Cannon was up for the job,
I think it was 120, wasn't it?
Yes.
it was over 100 for sure.
Is there any,
Sean says yes?
Yeah.
so we're gonna create a job for $120,000 that we're doing?
No, you're not
No, no,
creating
I'm trying to
any.
fill a position.
First of all,
An
The job
office.
is already there.
Woke up big, didn't
Requirements for
The job description's in the
Just
charter. I mean, that's one of the issues.
You don't have to have that.
The argument has
Position
been
in the
that
budget,
they haven't
she can't
been able to recruit adequate people for the position. I'm not sure that there was a honest enough attempt to actually look. And that's something that I want to say.
I believe if you were to do a national search or even a regional search,
I think it was
you would
in
find-
New York
you would
State,
find
I know
very
that they're
well-qualified
qualified
people
people.
with both. I'd have to be convinced that a real serious effort was made, and then we,
Right, and I haven't seen that. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
once again, I think these are all fair issues for a public hearing. I would once again like to emphasize that Albany County doesn't really have any land use control. Planning is a function of the towns and the cities. So Albany County can't come in and say, with the exception of the Albany County Planning Board, which in areas which do not have a planning department have a primary responsibility, but in most other instances, unless they're crossing a county road, they end up deferring to the local government and giving some technical suggestions which are not even binding. So,
That's not so in the past few years. They have been very active. As a matter of fact, you said your planner in Bethlehem, I think that person is gone recently.
no, not Rob Leslie. One of his assistants went to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody left, but they have been very active, and they have quite a team with quite
right.
the experience.
But it's not as though they're controlling zoning, the building process in the city of Albany.
They have stopped projects in the city of Albany, held them up until they submitted the proper documentation
Well,
of these projects.
every-
And had the proper hearings at the municipality before they
Well,
came to that.
every municipality should have the proper hearings for every project, or they should be stopped. But I'm not suggesting that's the issue here. But anyway, I would...
Well, I would like to respond only in this way, that you said the locals do land use planning. Correct, they do. And they do zoning, and they do most of the building permitting. But planning is a lot more than just the physical planning of the communities. There's issues of the regional nature of transportation, for example. That's why we oversee the CDRPC, and we oversee the Transportation Authority, and a lot of other transportation things. So transportation planning is a fundamental part of regional things that the county's dealing with. And there's a lot more in planning than just the physical planning. And so I think, well, I don't want to belabor it. Are there any other comments? Yeah.
Just to point one thing, this position has nothing to do with the Albany County Planning Board. This individual is not there now, and this individual would not become a member of the board. It's a separate, distinct function. So although the discussions about planning are pertinent in that they talk about the planning function for the county, this is an economic development director, which doesn't exist. So you have to be careful, and I'm sure everybody will go back and review this before they actually have a vote. These are two separate, distinct functions.
Very complimentary, yeah.
Make a motion
If
to
and
move
when
the public
possible,
hearing.
go.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, what?
People.
Make a motion to move the
You
public
would
hearing.
delete,
Planner,
you
you have an idea?
Gil, do you have one more comment?
Yeah, one more comment. I would just like to know,
talk it.
why can't we put what this job pays in the resolution? Is there a reason we don't do that? Shouldn't the public know that it's going to be a job that calls for 120,000 or better at the public hearing?
It's not new, the salary is not new.
Well, it isn't that, it's a public hearing, and the people that are going to pay the bill should know what it's going to cost to have this fellow or this girl. That's all, just, any reason why it shouldn't be in there?
The position's already in the budget.
Well, that's, I understand, I understand 100%, but they're another 55 years. The fact is, we're having a public hearing, the public should know what the salary's going to be for the job. It's very simple,
Put it in, put it
If
in.
you want to.
Why not?
makes more sense to me. How do you put it in, I don't know.
Necessary.
It's not like it's-
We may not think it's necessary, but people like myself, Sam, with all due
I'm not
respect,
opposed to it.
people like myself will pay taxes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like me that like to know, I know, there's a lot of people like us want to know what it costs. That's all. $120,000 ain't a bad job.
I'm not opposed to putting.
Then put it in.
Well, first of all, how do people feel about putting the salary in there?
I'm in favor.
Paul, do you have any objection?
Yeah, it's not anything that we have ever done. Are we going to start listing the salary for every position?
Yep,
that we-
smart move.
That we,
Wouldn't be a bad thing.
That's what it should be.
Where would you put it?
it doesn't
bottom line.
belong in here.
Well-
The concept is, this is a policy issue
Yeah.
about job qualifications. If
Right.
as a result of the public hearing,
Yeah.
you don't want to do it, you don't do it.
Yeah,
If at some point in time, there is a as far as I know, there's nobody waiting in the wings for this thing.
there might be, they see the salary.
Well, you know something? Because the salary exists at a certain level in a budget, doesn't mean that you can't hire somebody at 80% of the salary or at, some other number that the
Especially
legislature
if
agrees
it's
upon.
just a PR guy.
That's a different question. This is about this function.
Yeah,
And I would appreciate it if you would send it out for a public hearing.
okay.
And if-
We are going to have to amend this because this, right now, it says July 24th.
No, what we handed out says the 28th, they hand out, August 28th.
What about back to the issue about putting the salary in there?
Yeah, just hand it out.
Yes?
Oh, yes. Well, how about we compromise and we leave the policy alone because I agree with Paul, it doesn't really belong in there, but how about we put out the job description and people can look up, I don't know if it's on the job description what the range is, it usually is in most places, but at least so people know what the actual,
When you
the
say put
job-
out the job description, what do you mean? You
like
mean put it
wherever
on
we
our
put.
website or put it on our
Wherever we put
website?
this thing about the public hearing, which
Yeah,
I think we're
actual job description.
Put the job description right next to it, say this is what we're talking about. And this way, you're not married to the amount, but everybody can know what
Excuse me, Vic. Here.
separate but not attached.
Well, I'm not in favor of that.
This is-
I'm not in favor of compromise. Although it's good, no, I am. But I think if we haven't, shame on us for all these years that we don't put the salaries in these things. 'Cause I think it's a very important thing. Taxpayers know what we're paying people. Everybody don't look at the budget, everybody don't go online, but if we're gonna have a public hearing and invite the public down, that's a perfect opportunity to tell them what these jobs pay.
So just to be clear, what are you suggesting exactly, Lynn? That we attach a job description to the public notice?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So however we...
put it on the
publicize-
county county website.
so this is a public hearing about this position, here's the job description.
Okay, that's what she suggested.
That's my suggestion.
And I had the original
I
suggestion.
think it's.
Add the salary, why not?
My original suggestion, you got control of these guys, or I gotta just keep yelling?
Does anybody, no.
I don't care. I mean, I can yell like everybody else.
So you had a motion on the floor to add the salary.
Add the salary to the resolution.
It's
very simple.
We had a motion to move it.
No, I had my hand before you made the motion to move it. He didn't see my, well, you didn't see my
Put
hand.
his hand up to move the motion, but before there was a second, you put your hand up, Gil, and I called on
Also
you
the
first,
salary
which maybe I
currently in
should
the
have.
budget.
With all due respect, this is a no-brainer. Either tell the public what you're paying the people, or don't tell them. It's very simple. I feel as though we should tell the public whatever this salary is. And how complicated it can be to add another line saying salary pays X amount of dollars? And let the public see it.
Is that a change from what?
We're trying to hide something? I don't know.
There's no prohibition against it, is it?
Is there any reason why we can't add a line like that in what we, in this resolution at this point, or is?
Well, let me ask you a question. What would happen if the county executive wanted to hire somebody for $90,000? Would he be precluded from doing so because the public hearing notice?
You could work anywhere from $1 to
The job
$120,000.
description has a salary range, doesn't it?
Usually,
In other
anyone
words-
that I've seen has a range.
Right. In other
So,
words, so the 120 would be the job rate. It's like what our new general counsel, I think you're not being paid at the full job rate. There's a job rate and a hiring rate and a range in between. You list the higher job rate, and with the understanding that management has the flexibility to hire anywhere between the hiring and the job rate. That's just standard.
Yeah. I've just heard a few comments. One, if we do put the salary in, then we have to go back to committee again, or it would have to go back to law, and they would have to look at it this way with the change. I'm not really sure. It's worth doing
Mr. Chairman.
Well, that could be done before that hearing. We could have that done.
Yeah, Paul?
This is the first bite of a journey. The journey starts with a public hearing. This was also discussed at law. And before anyone were to adopt this, there has to be, as a result of the public hearing, someone has to go back and look at the actual language. So there's another opportunity to reflect this. You have the ability, if you want, to put an addendum on this for the, with the job description and the salary. So there is public disclosure, there is public awareness. People can put out press releases, they can do whatever they want, but can we put it out for public hearing?
Can we put it out, the public hearing, a better time to tell the public what the price, what the salary is? First of all, how many want to do this from, I'm spinning my wheels. You guys want to do it or don't you? I don't care. I'm in favor of putting the salary. I got a motion there. Can we vote on the motion? Do you want the salary on or don't you?
We have competing motions. Why don't we?
You can't have competing motions. You got one motion, you get that out of the way, then you go
All
to
right,
another motion.
okay. We'll do you first.
Please do,
Gil has
so
a
I can get out,
motion
so I can leave.
to add the salary to the public hearing resolution.
Bill,
How do you do
can
that?
I ask you a question?
Yes.
I mean, there's been this vacancy so long, what's the difference if we wait one more month, settle all the dust, and put it together properly and do it whichever way the committee
Well, I
wishes?
think,
That makes
in terms of
sense.
the actual resolution, yes. Are you suggesting we need to delay the public hearing?
Well, if we're gonna start changing it a month after, let's wait. I mean, there's no urgency that we need somebody tomorrow in this job. It's been vacant so long. What's the big
It has,
rush?
and it-
Somebody need $120,000 right away?
I do.
All right, let's not delay if we don't have to. So first, Gil has a motion to amend this, to add the salary range to it. Is there a second?
There's a second.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor of making that amendment? All opposed?
So put it in.
Well, actually, it lost. So we're not going to put it in.
That's fine.
Now, Travis,
What was the
You have a
vote? Bill, what
motion.
was the vote?
there were 2 in favor, and
No,
it looked to me like the rest were opposed. Is that wrong?
Is that right?
Was there anyone
What's your
else?
vote?
I was opposed.
It's 4-2.
Yeah.
So what did it fail? 3 to 2 or 4 to 2?
4 to 2.
4 to 2. All right, no problem.
In the spirit of compromise,
May I make a motion?
Oh, we have another
Well,
motion.
Travis has been trying.
Make a motion, move this.
Just make a motion to pass the public.
That's what I said.
Done with it.
That's what I said.
I
My motion is to move the public hearing forward, that's it.
Now, Paul, you also were amenable to amending the job description, correct?
Excuse me, may I interrupt? The motion on the floor is pertaining to the public hearing. The items pertaining to the text are on a different location in your agenda. So right now, the motion on the floor and the text in front of you pertains specifically to the public hearing. So if there's a modification of some sort that somebody wants to the local law, that would be on the legislation, which is not in front of you right now.
The job description? Okay, all right. Is everybody clear on that then?
Yes, correct.
So that we will deal with separately. And so now, Travis, again, has a motion to move the public hearing forward.
Public hearing forward.
Is there a second? Sam? That's a second, all right. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Explain my vote.
Frank, were you also
I'm
opposed?
opposed.
I'm opposed,
You know, we should get ourselves together, put it in, if there's gonna be a salary in there, which I've never seen before, but if that's what we want, I mean, we hear it up on the floor all the time. We're not transparent, the transparency's not there, this isn't there. Let's show the public what we're doing here.
Well, I think we did discuss, and it seemed to be in agreement that we would put the job description in, but that it was stated that we should be doing that.
I have absolutely no objection to when you put when you put this on the website, or even say job description on the website.
Click here.
Absolutely no objection to people having, I look at it as promotion. If people come forward, people come forward. That's a wonderful thing. We're the only county without an economic development department.
and I had no problem.
We will be putting that
How many
information
years
out
did we
there.
have this discussion?
What?
How many years? Okay?
Trying to go
You gotta
forward.
get a real economic development person, you gotta pay them the salary, and you'll get the right person.
I agree with
And
all
then
of
we'll
that.
start to get some economic development and things happening in Albany
I
County.
couldn't agree with you.
But when you wanna pay somebody $60,000, $70,000 to sit there and try and go out and hustle
Can't do that.
business, it's not gonna happen.
No, Amazon doesn't take their call.
And I'm not, I'll explain my vote, I got interrupted a couple times. In explaining my vote, is not that I'm against the public hearing, I'm in favor of public hearings. But I'm just opposed to the public not knowing what this job pays for, what it's gonna cost the
We're gonna
taxpayer.
address that.
Well, yeah, it sounds
Well, yeah,
like
you
we
can
have-
address it. Yeah,
we
you
have a
can-
way to address it.
You can address it, but the fact is, the motion got defeated, and I have no problem with a 5-2 vote. It's nice to know there's 5 members here who are not really concerned about the public knowing the salary.
Well,
Very
I'd just
simple.
like to make a
Very simple.
suggestion for the record. I think that the salary for this position shouldn't be less than the equivalent salary for New York State, which I think is probably at least $160,000 or better. But that's just for the record, for consideration, because that's probably a factor in recruitment, among other things.
That's right.
All right, so here we are. We are moving forward with the public hearing. We will be amending the job description after we have the public hearing, and if we need to change the actual subsequent resolution.
The other resolution with the actual language in it is tabled as it would be in any instance until after a public hearing, when it's the committee's pleasure how to move forward.
Right.
After the public has not been told, then we'll do something.
we're gonna put
that
the
correct?
job description right
No, we're gonna
next to
fix
it.
that.
We're gonna fix it after,
We're gonna be transparent.
after the public meet. And then
No,
we
we're
have
gonna put it
to,
up now, so that they have a month to read it.
oh, if they provide, they read that stuff, but now they're,
How do they know?
they're gonna come to the, they're gonna come to the public, they're gonna come to the public hearing, not know the price.
Yeah,
All right, no problem with that.
we're all set.
They don't wanna tell the public,
We
don't tell
move
them.
to item 5 now.
Prohibition to add.
Ralph, you want to?
I do.
This ought to be good.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ralph.
All right, Ralph.
Yes.
This is resolution number 337, update and create an Albany County Master Waterfront Plan to promote travel, tourism, recreation, and waterfront development on the Hudson and Mohawk Rivers in Albany County.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like both economic development and planning.
Absolutely. So I was just going to say, you wound up moving forward a bill right before mine that change the qualifications of an economic developer, moving that forward in Albany County. And what's an economic developer going to need? He's going to wind up needing quivers in his little basket so that he can wind up pulling them out and start getting some economic development in Albany County. The waterfront in Albany County winds up, both Democrats and Republicans do wind up representing. It winds up spanning from Queens all the way up the Hudson, and then it takes a left turn on the Mohawk, or that comes down and it goes, wraps all the way up into Colony. So we have approximately 40 miles of waterfront property. What I am asking to do, and again, everybody, hopefully I'm not saying this because I'm sure that you all realize it, this is a non-binding resolution. As the legislature, the only oversight that we have over the IDA is to appoint the members. They serve at our pleasure. Other than that, we have no oversight over the county IDA. So what I am looking to do is that, seeing that one of the hot topics that we have, and also I think it makes sense, there are, I listed them all out, 13 or 11 legislators that represent those districts, and I did notice that Mr. Ethier and Mr. Fine, both of you represent waterfront districts and are not on this, so hopefully you can join on, seeing as it does affect your district.
Wait a minute, how does it affect my district? People in
do you,
Cohoes go down there?
Yeah, Cohoes, Mohawk River.
Was that in Cohoes?
First word, Mohawk. Kind of go up, around the dump that you have in Colony, coming down First Ward.
That's my district too, the dump.
That's, yeah, so that's waterfront, so I would greatly appreciate your,
There's no problem, Ralph. If it's something your suggestion, it's always in good taste.
Thank you.
I have no problem.
please add Mr. Ethier and also Mr. Clay, who also sits on the IDA, wants to go on this, and we have his counterpart, Mr. O'Brien.
I wish I had known ahead of time. I would have been more prepared for it, but it's okay.
No,
If it's coming from you, it's got to be good.
It's awesome. It's
So
the best thing
Ralph,
since sliced
do you
bread.
have more you want to say in terms of what's
Well, this is just
what's being proposed?
Yep, this is my proposal is this. Back in 2001, there was an economic development study that was done. Hasn't moved anywhere. It's 17, 18 years old. And the one thing I'm trying to do is have this at a macro level. All the cities, towns, and villages, they wind up working in their own little cities, towns, and villages. And they don't have a global aspect. This is something where you can put a global touch on it, and it can wind up being not only an economic driver, but it can be a marketing tool. I mean, if you wind up looking what's close to the waterfront, you have entertainment districts, you have recreational districts, you have bike paths, you have a whole host of things that are right off of our waterfront. So what I'm asking the IDA to do, and they don't have to, they can say, hey, Ralph, great idea. No. But seeing as two of the individuals that are on the IDA are on it as sponsors, hopefully it has some sort of, that they do something, is to wind up going out and getting a plan updated. So that once you have a plan updated, you can do a lot of different things. They can target areas, and then you can wind up working with the county. And, not to say that we have to wind up transferring properties, but if there's any sort of properties that fall into the designated area on the waterfront that may have back taxes, that could be something that the legislature has the sole discretion on transferring property so that we can wind up building land banking for development purposes. And also, too, it winds up giving the economic developer, whoever that he or she may be, or whoever the county executive does wind up hiring, if and when he gets to that point, something to wind up working with, because it'll be a viable document. And it's something, our waterfront is very important. I mean, we have industry, we have the port, we wind up having residential, we have business, entertainment, there's conservation, areas in certain districts. And then the third portion of it, once that this plan comes to, they get a plan together, and it could be anywhere from 6 months, a year, well, depending on how it takes, because the IDA will have to go out and hire somebody to do it, is that they pledge money for, the development on this. And that's putting new development, which is new tax base, into all of the other, into the county, but also into the municipalities, the towns and villages that border the waterfront, the Mohawk and the Hudson. So I'm looking for this to go out. Again, it's non-committal, the IDA. We have no oversight over them. It's just us asking them to take a look at it, and if it's something that they're so inclined to do, then they're inclined to do, and if not, then they do nothing. So.
Do we know how the IDA feels about this?
Well, as I indicated, it's a 7-member board. 2 of the 7 are on the, 2 legislators are on the IDA, and 2 of those 7 are sponsors. So hopefully it has a little bit of, juice, or people that want to advance it if they're sponsors and are going to vote for the legislation. So that's the way I look at it. Halfway there.
Sam, did you?
I did raise my hand. Yes, I have a couple questions.
Absolutely.
One is, how do you envision the IDA working with, for example, the city of Albany on this? I know that the city of Albany, capitalized Albany, a lot of ongoing plans for the waterfront. We just heard from the CDTC on their potential plans for 787. And then also wondering, how did you arrive at the $1.5 million? And how would that, in Albany, a lot of the waterfront is protected land, so there can't be much development on it. So how would that work into?
Well, I do have conservation in there, of conservation of land. I took a number of most things that our legislature does, and I just picked a number. They can wind up coming back and they can say, we'll put up $500,000. They can wind up saying, we'll fund $2 million. They can wind up doing whatever. It's just a recommendation. The number was to put a placeholder that we're looking for them to take action and invest and actually do something. The first question is, or the other one about conservation. There's going to be areas where you're going to have conservation you can't wind up building on. So I mean, I did have that set aside, so when they study it, they're going to wind up looking at those. And how are the cities, towns, and villages all going to wind up working with the county IDA? Well, very easily, in my opinion. A lot of the IDAs all throughout the county, they do not have working capital. The county IDA has approximately $3 million and 1.5 in the Albany County CRC. So they have a considerable amount of money where they can wind up doing the investment, and where if they invest, they can partner. And however they wind up working out or structure the deals between both the county and the city, or the county and the village, or the county and the town, they're able to wind up striking those deals. Or if the city of Albany says, okay, well, what's the game plan? And they have the county winds up doing an update for a master waterfront, well, then they can wind up utilizing it as a marketing piece, because part of this is also going to wind up being able to market. So Albany would wind up benefiting from that. Capitalized Albany would benefit from that. Downtown Pearl Street, the Palace, they would wind up being able to benefit, as well as the other areas in the county. So just within the city of Albany, they would be able to benefit from a marketing standpoint once that this is all put together.
Okay. Also, I think it's important that if this study happens, that they seek public input. Would that be part of the plan?
Well, if they do a master plans do wind up having to have public input. If they just wind up doing a waterfront design, it all depends on what the county IDA wants to do. As most people here are aware, and I'm sure that the chairman can wind up explaining, more. If you open up for a master plan, you have to have public hearings, and you have to invite the public in, and you have to wind up doing things all throughout. That's just part of the process. And that's if Albany County adopts it, as its own plan, and the county IDA pays for it. So, I mean, there would be a public process. Or they could wind up just going out to consultant or getting in a consultant, whether it's a RFP or RFQ, and they say, okay, well, we just want to have a waterfront plan.
Okay, thank you.
So hopefully we'll add on as a sponsor.
I was reminded that the public hearing starts in 15 minutes, so I'm not quite sure how we're going to get through all these questions, Lynn.
Well, I guess we'll be late.
Some of my questions were answered by Sam. I think that I would be more apt to support it if it was a public process, if they were able to get input from all the constituencies all along.
And that's the one thing that we can wind up putting is that it does say a master waterfront plan, so if they wind up doing, if anybody knows, and I'm sure that, as again, the chairman can wind up explaining with his time in economic development, if you do a master plan.
Okay, so who's paying for the master plan? That's part of my next question. I see that
If you,
we've allocated this money for
if you read the
everyone.
resolution, it winds up saying that the county IDA winds up paying, so there's no fiscal impact. So everything is on them.
Because the IDA is paying for it.
Correct. And they're two separate things, so there is no fiscal impact. Well, this is a recommendation. They can say, no, we don't want to do it. So there's no fiscal impact on the county and the county taxpayer dollars. It's all on the IDA. They can say, no, we don't want to do it. So we can pass it 39-0, and they can say, vote it down 5-2 and say, no, we don't want to do it. Or they can say, you know what, we don't want to deal with it. Because we have no oversight. All this is asking them to take action and do something. Because 11 legislators do represent, and those 7 people are appointed by us. So
I make a
roughly-
recommendation, we move it out, whoever wants to do
So
it.
I would like to move this out.
I make a motion, we move it out.
I still have questions.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Why is this all put in one thing? I'm thinking like, wouldn't we do the study first and then talk about how much was to be invested?
That's how I wrote it, and this is how it is, because they get it all in one draft, so they know that if they want to do it, that we're asking for them to have skin in the game. To wind up going back and, they can wind up saying, no, it's upon them. This is just nothing more than a recommendation. And the reason why that there was a dollar amount is because that's the way I wrote
Okay.
it.
How wide do you consider the waterfront? In Albany, I assume it's fairly narrow, but as you get to more rural areas,
The Hudson and the Mohawk. So
and
if you
how
have
deep
that-
into the land of the towns would you consider? 100 feet?
That is
2
all
miles,
on the
half a
person,
mile?
that is all for the consultant when they come in to wind up taking and targeting an area for a waterfront.
There also may be a lot of grant funds out there for something like this.
Yeah.
So there is,
This
we just missed the CFA
It's
application.
only a suggestion, like you pointed out.
What is the practical implication of this?
There is none, it's what we wanted to do, like most legislation that we pass, it's,
It's an urging resolution.
Well,
they-
I would
if-
argue that maybe that's not like most
But if-
legislation we pass. We were just allocating county funds for all kinds of things in the Social Services Committee and in
well,
Public
like
Works.
this is asking somebody to do something. And seeing as we have oversight over the board because we appoint members, I'm simply putting this forth for them to wind up taking action on. Again, they don't have to, if they don't want to.
And by us voting, moving this forward or not moving this forward, what is the difference?
Well, if we move it forward, we can wind up getting some sort of action. If we don't wind up moving it forward, then there is no action.
Why not? It's their discretion anyway, right?
Well, they don't have anything formal by a body.
They don't have what?
They don't have anything formal by our body.
Do they need that?
Yes,
So our action is important.
to get it out there.
It's the first time that we've ever done it, and I'm asking for this to do, as most individual legislation goes through, I'm asking this to go through. So it's either goes out with a favorable recommendation, you guys table it, or you put it out with no recommendation, or whatever it is that you want to do.
But the important thing you're doing, you want the whole legislature to see.
Absolutely.
That's the most important thing. That's why my motion stays that I recommended it. It brings it to all the legislators to give their opinion where everything should be brought to begin with,
So
not
as
just a
we-
handful of people.
As we have to go, there's a motion for this to be moved out. I'd like action on that, please.
Yep.
Any more discussion on this? personally feel like I have more questions that I haven't had a chance to ask.
I agree.
Paul's got a
Okay, so
question.
there is a motion to move it
Paul's
forward.
got a question.
Yeah.
I was just asking, if the IDA and the Resource Corporation have a total of $4.5 million, is it premature for us to recognize that 33% of the resources of economic development for the county be spent here as a blank check? I mean, I don't
Again,
have...
it's non-binding,
Excuse me,
it's just a number.
It's just a number. Well, then maybe it should say invest up to $1.5 million, so that if they decide they wanted to do a feasibility study that cost $250,000, and then come back to the legislature and say, here are some things that we want to do, that's one thing. And I think the other thing here is it should actually urge the IDA to work with local governments, because the local
I
governments
think I had that in there.
maybe I read past it, Ralph. Could you?
Point it out.
I share that concern. One of the potential benefits of something like this could be making local jurisdictions, as well as the county, eligible for certain types of grant funding. I know when I was directly involved with the town of Bethlehem, we had certain comprehensive plan type activities, waterfront work, which would be overlapping with this along the Hudson, where by getting these things approved by Department of State or some other state entity, it allows you to be eligible for certain kinds of funding.
And we just missed the CFA applications are due, I think, Friday, so we don't actually have time to wind up working on a CFA for this year, but it is something to wind up working forward to next year. And to answer Paul's question, in the first whereas clause, I do encourage cooperation between the Albany County IDA and the Albany County Capital Resource Corporation with local economic development agencies, now there be for blah, 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 blah. So I do ask for that.
Can we get a vote so we can get, with all due respect, I
Sure. So
You're gonna
who had
pass
the
them?
motion to?
I had the motion
Okay.
to move it out.
Is there a second? All right, Sam has a second. How many are in favor of moving it out right now? How many are opposed?
I'm sort of in the middle
Yeah, I'm
somewhere.
just kinda not
I would
sure.
like to know more about the.
Yeah, I know.
Could always adjourn,
Well, we've had
come
10
back
minutes to
tonight.
talk about it, so.
I think we don't seem to have a clear,
Yeah, we do. It's 3-2 or 3-3. It's very clear.
well,
Tie or,
43
it's either tie or it's one the other way.
what's that?
It's either tie or it's one way or the other.
Well, who didn't vote?
It was 4-3, that doesn't come out.
Travis, you're on the committee.
I voted
We
no.
gotta do a
You
vote.
voted no. I voted no.
Lynn voted no, and so did,
All right, so,
I'm
She's
not
on the
sure.
side.
Yeah, I'm
So we
not
did not move it out.
Sorry.
so we have not moved it out.
Well, what are the, you can move it out favorably, you can move it out.
Put out a recommendation or in favor or against it.
I'm okay with that recommendation, I suppose.
okay,
I
I'll move it
just
out without recommendation.
That's fair.
need to be difficult. I
When
just don't feel like I've learned
will
enough
there
about
be
it.
time to have more questions asked then?
Well, it's all upon the chair if he wants to kick it back to committee. Or you could have had the schedule at 6 o'clock as opposed to 6:15.
Why don't we get back after the public hearing?
Does the committee want to do that?
I have no problem.
Well, it's an audit and finance too, right? So how does that impact?
Well, I love all these, but the public comes first and I gotta go.
You said you weren't.
All right, I think we're
Make a
going
motion to adjourn.
We can stay right over there, Bill.
Yeah, we do it over there.
You can adjourn here.
Your phone, Gil,
I think we're going to have to table this.
Table at the committee's recommendation. Good. I get 30 days in it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, we do need a vote to actually table. So is there a
Motion to adjourn.
motion to
Adjourn.
Sure.
all in favor of tabling?
aye.
We'll split it.
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna do it.
All opposed? Frank and you and Bill, are you opposed to tabling? Are you guys opposed or in
You know,
favor of
I thought we were
tabling?
gonna vote on it. We're coming back, aren't we?
We go down this road, Bill, we're gonna be right over there. Let's continue discussion. Nobody's going anywhere.
No, I think we're going to table it.
Okay, that's fine. You made a decision.
Motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
So moved.
Second. Thank you.